Bacon time. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Dads with Bacon, talking sports. I am your host, Aaron Ludwig, aka they call me Bacon, and welcome to the show for May 9th, 2024. We took last week off just because we had a crazy week the week before with the NFL draft, and so this week we're doing something a little different because it's been like 3 weeks since we talked NHL or NBA. In fact, I believe the last time we talked about it was before the playoffs for both leagues even started. So a lot has happened in the last couple weeks with the playoffs starting, and both leagues are already in their second round of the playoffs. So what I'm going to do, I have a first half hour here. We're going to talk NHL playoffs. Second half hour, we're going to talk NBA, and we have some other folks joining us in the second half of the show. So right now I'm going to introduce Charles. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey, man, it's going good. How are you doing?
Good. And we'll get right to it here. We'll bring on Tyler. Tyler is the first time he's on our show. So thanks for joining us. He's
thanks for having me, boys.
Yeah. And as you can see, he's got the hockey jerseys behind him, so he's all set. Tyler, what team are you? You just said before we went on that you wanted Carolina to win this series between Carolina and the Rangers. Is Carolina your team or
I have family in Raleigh, but okay. I actually have family in Raleigh, Pittsburgh, and I'm originally from Wyoming, so I root for the Avalanche.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice. And actually one of my my niece's husband, Devin, who has been on this show one other time, he wasn't able to be on tonight, but he's a huge Avalanche fan too. So you had too bad.
Oh yeah,
you guys there you go. Nice. And Charles, who's your team again? Remind me.
So I'm kind of a hockey nomad. So this year I'm rooting for the Rangers. My best friend, his family, they're all from New York and huge Rangers fans. So they've kind of swayed me in that direction. But like ever since the Thrashers left, because like growing up in Indiana, the Indianapolis has the ice, but they don't have an NHL team. And when I was living down here, we got the Thrashers. Like it was here when that happened,
sure,
and stuff. So that was great. And before that, I cheered for the Red Wings because Shanahan was my guy growing up. That was my guy, and so I was I was a Red Wings fan. Plus, that was about one of the closest teams that we had in Indy and stuff. But ever since the Thrashers left, like when I lived in Dallas, I rooted for the Stars, and if like the Canes are around here, the Preds and all. So, I kind of watch all of them and stuff, but I've just been bouncing. I was really all set to become a Vegas fan. I was a Vegas fan, and then they did my guy Flower dirty.
That's so facts. That's why I hate Vegas. That's why I hate Vegas.
That's one of my favorite players. He's probably my favorite goalie ever. And so like that.
I already know we're gonna get along great, dude. My parents grew up in Pittsburgh, so I was a big Flower guy. I played goalie, so that he's the reason why I played goalie. And once Vegas did that to him, I was like,
Yeah, that was wrong. The way they did him was
trading a Vezina winner for a 5th round pick, dude.
Did him dirty twice. He found out on Twitter, Instagram. Like, gosh, almighty.
And he doesn't even have Instagram, so it's off his wife's Instagram. That's even worse.
Crazy. And look at him. I mean, he came and won a starting job this season.
Oh, 100%.
Guys,
he was so much better than Gustafsson.
Yeah, Gustafsson had a rough start. Like, man.
Absolutely. And to take it back to Atlanta, dude. To take it back to Atlanta, like those jerseys that Atlanta had when I was growing up were the sickest jerseys I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh yeah,
those powder blue ones with the Atlanta going down the sleeve.
Yeah, I love the light blue ones. I like those a lot. It was great, man. Everything was cool until everything with Danny Heatley, and then it all went downhill from there. It was rough.
I feel like we have to talk a little bit about Utah getting a team.
I was going to ask. That was one of the things I thought we would talk about quick before we got actually into the playoffs so far. So, what are your thoughts on Tyler? We'll start with you since you brought it up. What are your thoughts on? I mean, personally, I think Utah. hockey, cold weather. I'm like, okay,
I think it's a great market. I think it's an absolute fantastic market to get into. You got the Utah Grizzlies already, so they're probably going to relegate. That's the word. Relegate up to the AHL to be the AHL team for the Utah, whatever they call themselves. I saw the possible 20 list. Honestly, I like the Utah Yeti, or
I like that one too.
That one's sweet. Or the Utah Mammoth is kind of cool. Obviously, like the one that's been, getting the most traction online because of chicklets is the Salt Lake City Soakers, which is pretty funny. I ain't gonna lie. Pat McAfee had Ryan Smith on, and he asked about it because he's like, "Come on, you got to entertain the name a little bit, just because it has the most traction." But it was pretty funny. But yeah, dude, I think Utah is a great state to have it in. It kind of sucks that the desert doesn't have a team anymore. But the Avs just have another rival in the battle of the Rockies.
I was gonna say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense with Colorado already having a team too. So
absolutely,
Charles, what were your thoughts on the move? You didn't seem to like it from your reaction.
No, I hate it. Okay, because one of the three places that was legitimately in the running for that team was Atlanta. And look,
come on, dude, you already had twice.
Right down the street from where the Gladiators have survived for a long time. Athens just got their own hockey team, not like the Ice Dogs from the college, but they actually have an ECHL team that will start in this coming season. They haven't even got a name yet. Right now, they're just called the Athens Hockey Team. So, I mean, Savannah's got a hockey team. Those teams do well, and the Thrashers
hockey is growing in the South, and I'll give you that.
To a point, it just all kind of fell apart, and it was really, there was crazy things that happened and stuff that kind of started that avalanche of what was going on. But no, we were getting there's down the road here a little bit, kind of north of where the Braves play. They're building a new sports complex, and it's centered around an arena, and it's going to be real nice. And this was one of the things to get that complex and stuff, is that they were trying to pull the NHL team. And for a little while, it sounded like Atlanta really had a shot, and then it started to kind of sound like maybe not. And Utah has been able to support one major sports team that is like it in its entire existence of a state. I don't see that the main population of Utah really like getting sucked into hockey. So it just doesn't make sense to me. That's a small market. They had the chance to come back to a major market.
Yeah. I honestly kind of disagree with you on that, because Raleigh is considered a small market as well down in North Carolina. And they're probably one of the most passionate fan bases in the whole league. And nobody thought it was going to work in Raleigh coming down from Hartford.
Well,
I think it's a different fan base.
But to Tyler's point, though, too, I mean, Salt Lake, they are passionate about their Jazz for sure. So,
and I think if you have such a,
yeah, go ahead.
If you have such a motivated owner like Ryan Smith, there's gonna be people in the seats.
Sure.
And I think, even with the Jazz, they've hit an untapped demographic. They might be pulling people from the Jazz, plus they're hitting that untapped demographic that love hockey.
Yeah, for sure.
That have just never been able to go to a game, or that just don't have a team in their region. Now they do.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It'll definitely be interesting to see how that whole thing goes. Why don't we talk a little bit about now the playoffs? Okay. Since we're in the second round, Tyler, I'll start with you. We're not going to go game by game in the first round, but let me just ask you: was there what were your thoughts on the first round? Is there a team that stood out? Is there a team that surprised you? Either they overachieved or really underachieved. I know Boston did. I will say this right now, and people who watch this show know I am not I don't follow hockey like everybody else does on this show. So, so I'm just gonna say I know enough that Boston completely choked last year. So was there a team in the first round that kind of did that this year, or similar, or
I think two teams. I'm gonna go one in the East, one in the West. That was very disappointing to me.
Okay.
Winnipeg Jets and the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Okay.
The fact that the gong show that we got in Game 1 of the Jets and Avalanche series, I was like, this is gonna go to 7. Ain't no way this is gonna end earlier than 7. Like it was back and forth, back and forth. Connor Hellebuck and Georgiev played like garbage. But I was like, okay, they're going to tighten up defensively. We're going to start seeing more 3-2 games back and forth. No, but the Avs just like dialed it up and blew the piss out of the Winnipeg Jets. I was really wanting to see more out of them. Like Connor Hellebuck, that was like I saw a stat today. It was like his first ever stretch of games being under 900 save percentage, which is very poor for a goalie in the NHL. And then for Tampa Bay, obviously you got the championship pedigree with Stamkos, Kucherov, Point, Hedman, Sergachev, Cirelli, all those guys, plus Vasilevsky, and that was also very disappointing. Like Florida just steamrolled through them, and I was very shocked. I thought that one was also going to go 7. The team that I was super surprised with was the Vancouver Canucks. Going down to their third string goalie and still pulling it off against Nashville, who has a Vezina finalist in UC Saros. Philip Forsberg is a 40-goal scorer. Ryan O'Reilly is an amazing captain with championship pedigree. Like that, it's a team full of great players, and the fact that their third string goalie Seelobs is the one that stole them 2 games to win that series.
Wow. Okay. Now, Charles, how about you? I'll ask you the same thing that Tyler. Is there, or would you pretty much agree with him as far as surprises or disappointments?
I Tampa Bay, the Lightning, that surprised me. Panthers handled them, and Tampa Bay is typically a strong playoff team, whether they make it all the way or not. They're one of those teams that they show up in the playoffs, and they did not show up in the playoffs. I mean, they got their ass whooped. It was ugly, and you know what? That Florida may do that to another team too, but I was shocked. I thought that, and it's because I was talking to a guy at work. He was sitting out on the patio. He had a Panthers jersey on, and I walked up and was like, dude, I don't know what's going on. If you had asked me at the beginning of the playoffs, I would have told you that this series probably goes 6 or 7. Like, this is crazy. And so I was really shocked about that. On the flip side of what he said, Nashville, I thought they would have shown up. I was surprised by them on the other side of the bracket. Like, I thought they were going to put up a good showing, on Vancouver, and they just didn't. They weren't in rhythm. They just didn't have it. So I was a little surprised with Dallas. I just kind of thought that Vegas would pull it out and get to the second round, but that didn't happen. But other than that, I think, pretty much everything Tyler said, I agree with.
Okay. Tyler, are you there?
Guys watch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's trying.
He's trying. Yeah. Oh, he's gonna have to hop back on. Okay. All right. So let's real quick. We'll look at the first or the second round matches. We've got Carolina, Dallas, or I'm sorry, Carolina. Wow, Colorado, Dallas. We have Vancouver, Edmonton, and then over in the Eastern Conference, you've got let's see, Florida, Boston, and Rangers and Carolina, who are tied right now at 2-2. Let's see if Tyler is back in.
Oh, you are in front of me.
Oh,
Thanks
sorry,
for
dude.
spoiling that.
Sorry, man. Sorry. I just assumed.
Wow. No, it's right after you said it. I watched them score.
Oh, did you?
Like,
okay.
I was like, wait, what? It's 2-2. Oh, wait, there it is.
Yeah,
I'm back.
all right. You're back.
Hey,
Awesome.
all right.
All right. So
He just stopped to see that goal. That's all.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I was just recapping the second round here. We've got Dallas and the Avs, Vancouver,
Mhm.
Edmonton, Florida, Boston, and then the Rangers, Carolina. So let's actually go, because we got time here. Let's actually go game or series by series here. Dallas and Colorado. What are your thoughts, Tyler, on that series? What do you like right now?
Real quick. I just want to take it back a little bit, just because I was trying to take a point and then my Wi-Fi took a dump. Seelovs. So we'll go to the Carolina or Vancouver, Edmonton. So Seelovs, their starting goalie for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't know if you guys watch World Juniors at all. He was the goalie that led Latvia to their first medal in national history.
Oh wow!
Getting bronze. He was the goalie that did that.
Okay.
So he is standing on his head, and I think he's only 23 years old.
Jeez. Yeah, that's impressive.
So it's pretty crazy. But going back to Dallas, Colorado, I think this series is going to be super entertaining. You know, talk about the battle of the monsters. You have
now game 2 is tonight. Game 2 is tonight, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Avs are up 1-0. Okay, go ahead. Keep
1-0. Right. Yeah. So you have the big monsters on each team. You know, Ottinger, Haskin, and Robertson. By the way, all drafted in the 2017 draft, was absolutely bananas, and they're all like one of the best people in their positions. And in the Avs, you have Makar, Rantanen, and McKinnon.
Okay.
And Georgiev he's been dialed. Couple of those goals on the game 1 were pretty shaky, but he got it dialed back in, closed the game out. I mean, he had a shutout from period 2 on, so it's pretty impressive to battle back like that, going down 3-0 in the first game.
Sure.
In the first period. I obviously I'm going to be biased. I think Colorado is either going to win it in 7 or they're going to win it in 5.
Oh,
I think it depends. I think it's going to be another Winnipeg situation. It just depends on if they bounce back or not, because we saw the same thing happen with Colorado, Winnipeg, and then the Avs were the ones that stepped up and the Jets didn't. So they ended up, getting steamrolled. Where if the Stars step up, I see this going 7, but if they don't, I think it goes 5 max.
Okay, Charles, how about you? What are your thoughts on that series?
I agree. I think it's going to be a really good series. I am going to go the Stars. Ben Robertson is awesome. I like their lines just a little bit better. It's not quite the same Avalanche team that we saw last year in the playoffs. So I agree. I think it will go 7. It's definitely going to go the distance. I think it'll be 6 or 7 games, but I just think Dallas will find a way to win.
So now, but if the Avs win tonight, so Tyler, if the Avs win tonight, and go up 2-0, you think it's probably going to go 5, and if
I think
Dallas,
if the Avs win tonight, I think that my prediction is the Avs drop tonight.
Okay.
And then they go on a heater, go 3 straight. You're not beating the Avs at home. Okay. You're not beating the Avs at home.
Gotcha.
Now, you got to think about this too. McKinnon had a point in pretty much every home game.
Okay, now remind me, these series, because this is what always confuses me sometimes about these, like especially between the NBA and the NHL. Do the series go 2-3-2?
So they do 2 games at home, 2 games away, and then CD takes over, and 1-1, 1-1.
Gotcha. Okay. So, all right. Well, let's go to the next game. Then we got Vancouver and Edmonton are the next series. Vancouver up right now, 1-0. We'll start with you this time, Charles. What are your thoughts on that series?
So, I like this Battle of Canada that we have going on. It gives the folks up there hope, because God knows that they can't rely on the Maple Leafs. So I really like this. I hope that they're all appreciating this. I feel like Vancouver probably shouldn't. I don't know, man. For whatever reason, I felt really strong that Nashville was gonna beat Vancouver in the playoffs. I really did, and so I kind of feel like they shouldn't be here. Both of them were really strong in the regular season. Edmonton had some runs where they got really, really hot. They almost looked unstoppable. So I feel like this one probably, like Edmonton, I think ties it up on the next game. And then it could go either way, but I feel like whoever wins game 3 is going to win the series. And one of these teams is going to get hot and they may run away with it at that point. But I'm going to pick Edmonton. I think that they're going to take Vancouver.
Okay. Tyler, how about you?
Honestly, I like your game 3 analysis there. I think if Vancouver pulls it off in Edmonton's barn, Vancouver's got this series. Hopefully freaking Pettersson shows up. Like he's been silent the past round and in the last 2 months. JT Miller, obviously an electric goal scorer. Quinn Hughes, great captain, leads by example. Probably going to win the Norris this year. And then you have no idea about this Seelovs guy. Like if Seelovs plays has good goaltending, I see the Canucks squeaking this one out in 7.
Okay.
So I got Canucks in 7.
Got Canucks in 7. Okay. All right.
And then there's a possibility that Demko comes back.
Okay. So now let's go to the next series, and Tyler, we'll start with you again. Florida and Boston tied up at 1 apiece. Thoughts on that series? Who do you think is going to win?
My favorite series thus far. Let's just talk about Matthew Tkachuk and David Pastrnak chucking hands at center ice. Like that was electric. Like holy, like Boston got the wheels kicked off of them, but like that was hockey right there. That is worth a $400 ticket to go see 2 superstars freaking chuck knucks at people. Like that, it was. And then the interviews afterwards, like Paul Maurice was like, "That was awesome." Like that quote for quote, that was what Paul Maurice said in post-game interviews. Like this is why hockey is so much better than a lot of other sports. I'll give UFC their crown, but hockey is pretty close. Like there's nowhere you can see an electrifying sport that still has fights.
Oh yeah.
Like it's crazy. So the breakdown, like this is a tough one because, Florida gets the wheels beat off of them the first game, and then Boston gets the favor returned to them in the second game. So this could go 1-for-1. So at this point, it could goes down to the home crowd.
Okay.
Like that in a sense, this could be Florida, and I say Florida in 7. I think Florida is built like a championship team. You got Bobrovsky playing out of his mind besides the first game. But it's really battle of the goaltenders. Like Jeremy Swayman's on a heater besides the last game. And then Bobrovsky's also on a heater besides the first game. And then you got superstars like Matthew Tkachuk and also, Verhaeghe and Ekblad, Barkov. Like these guys are good, and they play with sandpaper too. Like they aren't afraid to throw the body. And then you got Boston, Brad Marchand, the biggest rat in the league, and David Pastrnak, an elite superstar in the league, and their depth is really good. But I think Florida overcomes this because of their adversity from last year. Okay. With going, they didn't belong last year. Sure. They were the LA Kings of last, or not LA Kings. They were the Washington Capitals of last year, but they didn't do what Washington did.
They were better in the regular season than Washington was, though.
Absolutely, Florida had no business being in the playoffs last year.
Sure.
Pittsburgh gave them a blessing, getting trounced on by Chicago in their final game. But no, I think Florida's built for a long run. I really do.
You're saying,
especially if Sam Bennett comes back.
You're thinking Florida in 7 in this series?
I think Florida in 7.
Okay, Charles, how about you?
I'm with Tyler on this one. This one's I think ends up going 7 games. It might go 6, but this looks like it's gonna be a battle. And I feel like Florida's out for like vengeance from what happened last year because God, dude, they got embarrassed. Like seriously.
Boston got embarrassed. They were the reverse swept.
Yeah. Man,
they were down 3-0.
Yeah. I hate Boston though.
So do I.
I can't pick the Bruins to.
I only like Swayman and Pasternak.
They're good at losing too, so you know.
Oh yeah.
I agree. There's supposedly this series does have very good goaltending. We
have yet to see it
really
so far.
Seen it, but man. All I want from this series is to continue. I love it when entire teams brawl. I love it when
100%.
it gets down to that. And if you get down to that this early in a series, I'm very, very excited to see what happens next. So I will definitely, of course, be rooting for Florida. I'll be cheering for them. I cheer for whatever team is playing Boston. And I think they will get it, but I'm just excited to see this because these guys have already shown that they're ready to throw hands. And so it ought to be a fun series.
Okay. So let's, again, Charles, we'll stick with you. We'll go to the series that's going on right now. It still is going on. Okay.
It's about to go to overtime.
It went over. Okay.
Oh, boy.
It's into regulation right now.
So you got the Rangers that are up 2 games to nothing over Carolina. Going to overtime, tied 2-2 in game 3. What are your thoughts on? If the Rangers win this game, are they sweeping Carolina, Charles, or what are your thoughts on this series? And then Tyler, we'll go to you.
I don't think that they're going to sweep. The Rangers are going to win. I think Carolina's going to get one. It'll either be tonight or the next one.
Okay.
And then the Rangers are going to take them out. I felt very strongly, especially in the second half of the season, that the Rangers have looked like and may be the best team in the league this season. They're very, very strong. They play very well together. And man, they know how to beat some teams down. So I feel like even though that the Canes and all, they're one of those teams that I think about too, kind of like Tampa Bay. It's like when they get in the playoffs, they almost always have a shot. They have pretty good team in the playoffs, but the Rangers are just on fire. They're hot, and I feel like they'll just give up one, and that's almost going to be like to them kind of an FU, and then they're just gonna take it.
Okay, Tyler, how about you?
Yeah, no. Very hot take here. I think the Rangers are a bunch of fugazis. I think the only thing that the Rangers got going for them is the Rempire State Building. Matt Rempe, he is the only thing that is fun to watch about this New York Rangers team. And Igor Shesterkin standing on his head. That's the only reason why the Rangers are still in it. You got to think, they had 57 shots against last game. 57. That's crazy. If it wasn't Igor Shesterkin, they're getting the wheels beat off of them.
See now, okay, let me ask you this, and again, this is my lack of knowledge in the NHL. What's an average game as far as shots on goal? 25 to 30, okay. I'd say.
Yeah, right. Yeah, usually I always think usually around like 30. Like if you're in 25 or so, to me is kind of a little bit more of a boring game. But yeah, usually goalies are usually about 30, 32 shots or so. your save, percentage usually runs between about 89 and 93% most of the time.
Okay.
As far as a starting goalie, so.
See, and this is always the argument, not to get off track here, but we get off track on the show all the time. But when I get into an argument or not an argument, but a discussion with somebody about how boring I find soccer, and they'll say to me, "Well, what about you watch hockey? It's a 2-1 game," and I'm like, "Yeah,
oh,
but
dude, I love that.
Usually hockey though, if it's a 2-1 game, chances are your goalie has like 28 saves or something like that, and just a great goal." I said 2-1 score in soccer. Usually one team has 10 shots on goal, the other team has 8. I mean, it's just anyway. Go. I'm sorry. Now I
100% agree with you. I honestly think the nail biter games. Those are the nail biter games. Like you don't know who's gonna pop. You don't know when the gates are gonna open. Like
exactly.
Like this game right here. Like
I can watch
the average goals against is about 2. The average goals against is about 2.3 to 2.5.
Yeah.
So it's majority a 3-2 win, 4-2 win, something like that.
Gotcha.
So my thought is, Igor Shesterkin plays amazing when he has shots, which is all the time because you got Jacob Trouba as your number 1 D-man. Not great. Let's talk about that almost hit. That Trouba went parallel into the boards, almost broke his own neck, and tried to chicken wing Marty Maches. Like that was insane. Like that was if he made contact with his elbow on his head, that's a 20-game sussy. Easy. Like this guy is one of the dirtiest dirtbags in the league, and I don't like him. He's a shitty D-man. He doesn't contribute offensively. He just throws massive hits and gets a lot of suspension and a lot of penalties. So this is why I think Carolina's going to capitalize, because I saw the game. It was starting to get chippy early on because of, obviously, Svechnikov went after Shesterkin, hit him I think it was game 1 or game 2. And now they're after Kochetkov. Rangers have been touching Kochetkov after every frozen puck, snowing him, cross-checking him, like this. And obviously it was hilarious because, what broke out afterwards. I think that the Rangers are going to get themselves into penalty trouble. And that top line of Carolina with Gensel, Natchez, Aho, and Svechnikov on that power play 1 is going to break the gates open. I think Carolina takes the game tonight. Rangers take the next game. And then I think Carolina takes care of it the rest.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit then about hold on, we got someone here with the end of the Florida and Boston game last night. If not, okay. So that I'm assuming it was that the fight that you guys were talking about.
Absolutely, yes. That wasn't really the end, but it was pretty close.
Yeah.
There was
right after the 6th goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I was like, I think it was 8 minutes left in the game that 6th goal happened. And it was 5-on-5, brawls everywhere.
Just grab a dance partner and let's go. That's what it was. And it
takes 2 to tango, Yeah, dude. I thought that was amazing. I was actually over at my girlfriend's house last night, and I was watching it with her parents, and her dad's a massive hockey fan, big Fire Chief guy, and he was all for it. Like, we were having dinner, and he's just like, "No, don't talk to me. I'm watching the game." It was so funny. Like, it was great, and I think that series is so entertaining because of the bad blood from last year, and these teams just don't like each other. They do not. It's Matthew Tkachuk versus Brad Marchand, the Rats of the league.
So now before we end it up here, let's talk a little bit about. I mean, obviously we're down to the final 8. Looking at the Western Conference, Tyler, who do you like coming out of that conference going to the Stanley Cup final? I mean, obviously we can always amend it next week or whatever, depending on how the playoffs go. But As it stands right now, are you liking Colorado? Or are you liking Vancouver? Who are you liking to represent the Western Conference?
I'd say it's whoever comes out of this series between Dallas and Colorado. Obviously, I think Colorado's going to take it just because of the experience they have. You have Nate Dogg, who's an absolute freak and hates to lose. So if that team loses, Nate Dogg's not yelling in the locker room, but like he's pissed. Like he does not like to lose. Like last year, after they lost to Seattle in the Game 7 at home, there was a vengeance on his face. Sure. He was not going to be denied of another cup if he had the chance. I think if they get past Dallas, the Western Conference Final is going to be easy. It's going to be a repeat of last year if the Oilers make it, or the 2022. Did the Rangers win?
They did.
They did. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, reverse sweep time for Carolina.
There you go. They're going to go on a 4-0 run. Yeah.
But no, I think Colorado takes Edmonton or Vancouver with ease.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
How about you, Charles?
So I think Dallas is going to get there. And I think the true battle for Lord Stanley's Cup is actually going to be between Florida and the Rangers in the next round. Whoever wins that, which I think will be the Rangers, they're going to come out and make quick work of the West.
Oh, okay. All right.
How about you,
I don't know
Tyler?
about that.
What are your thoughts?
I think the Cup's staying in the West.
What?
I think the Cup is staying in the West.
It's landed in Dallas, huh?
It's landed back in the mountains.
Ooh, they got mountains in Vancouver? Yeah, they do, don't they?
They do. And so, I think going out of the East, because Charles already talked about the Rangers and Florida series, I think that the Florida Panthers are taking the East. Okay. I see Florida working whoever comes, because this battle between the Hurricanes and the Rangers is going to be a battle. Both of these series in the East are going to be battles. They're going to be bloodbaths. I see it. We see it already. But I think Florida has the team to withstand it.
So let me ask you this, Tyler. If you said they're both series are going to be battles. Let's say hypothetically, the Rangers end up sweeping Carolina. They win the next one. They win 4-0, and let's say Florida, because I know this is always a discussion in like basketball, football. Well, football really doesn't matter, but basketball especially. The teams that have long layoffs, how does that affect hockey teams? Does that affect them as much? Because
I listen to this all the time.
Yeah, go ahead.
I listen to this all the time. I think it really does affect you, because you're not getting that game type speed that you would in a playoff game that you are in practice, right? So I believe that. You see it in game ones. Look at how Dallas started versus Colorado. Look at how Boston started versus Florida. Look at how Vancouver played against Edmonton last night.
Sure.
Those games, Colorado went 5. The New York, Rangers, like that one's just a different story. They played an AHL team for the first round. Let's just be real. I think that longer, because you could just go, you're just rolling. You're in that mode already when you go 7, and then you're ready to go for the next series. So I think it affects the games 1 first. I think it affects game 1 first, but game 1 also sets the momentum for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Florida Panthers, which is absolutely bananas. But yeah, I think if the Rangers sweep, it's going to be tough, because Shesterkin, you got to think Shesterkin's not taking those game type shots.
Sure.
for a longer period of time. And then you get Florida, who's going to go 7, and they're built for the playoffs. Like, you saw what they did to Jeremy Swayman, who was on a heater, who pretty much knocked out Toronto by himself.
Yeah.
He stole that series for them.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because I know, like, especially for basketball, we talk about that a lot because basketball schedule, even right now, it's the NBA sometimes I don't know if they even know what the hell they're doing when they schedule some of these games. So I wasn't sure if that affected hockey players. I mean, hockey players are just a different breed.
Oh yeah, we are.
And so I think there's, to me, now again, I've never played hockey. I don't even want to see me on skates, but I would say, like, if you're in the middle of a hotly contested 7-game series, it's probably better off just playing 7 games and then going right into the next, instead of sitting there and waiting for the other team to get done, for a week where you're just, all you're doing is going to practice. So I was just curious.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Plus, there's more time for distraction. But let's go back to that Boston. Brandon Carlo, congrats, buddy. Like, that man had a kid at 3 a.m. back in Boston.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And got on a jet at 2 o'clock, was there at 6, 2 hours before game time, scored a goal in that game. Talk about new dad strength. Like, you got a couple clicks for the boy.
That. Yeah, they were talking about that because Rudy Gobert did the same thing happened with him with I don't know, Tyler, if you're a basketball fan or not, but with Timberwolves, his wife, they were playing in Denver, and his wife ended up having I think hers was like, I think she had their baby at like 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And there was all the reports that, well, was he going to be there for the game? Because the game was at 8 o'clock that night in Denver. Or no, I think it was 6 o'clock local time or whatever. So 8 o'clock, Eastern time. And so there were all the questions, and he was brought up, from the player from Boston about, like, okay, he played, and his wife had their baby at 3 o'clock in the morning. Why can't Gobert play and all that stuff? But anyway.
I think it's honestly tougher too. Like as a hockey player, to have a kid, have the energy to get on the ice, battle for 60 minutes. Like, I'm not, sure. No offense to you NBA fans on this podcast.
Yeah.
But hockey is just a lot more intense, a lot more physical, and a lot more draining.
Sure. Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
It truly is. And it's remarkable to see what he did. Like, that's a true professional right there. To be there for the boys, be there, show up when times mattered most, and get that goal. I think it was it the second or the third goal? Like, that was a pivotal goal. Like, that put him up 3 or put him up 4 to make it more out of reach for Florida.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we're going to move on and talk some NBA. Tyler, did you want to stay and talk NBA or not? Or don't you follow the NBA?
I mean, I can. I'm not the biggest basketball fanatic. I don't really watch basketball that much. Not even the Nuggets. I tell my roommates to turn the Nuggets game off, to turn the Avalanche game on. Or turn the Nuggets game off and really watch. But yeah, I mean, I would love to be back on my week. If you talk, I love talking to you. Instagram is on the StreamYard. Anybody wants to contact me, send me your takes. I will argue to the day I die with people. Your hot takes, send me your Conn Smythe winners. That's they have a Hart Trophy if McKinnon's going to get it or Kucherov's going to get it. McKinnon, obviously, I'm a homer, and I'm biased. But guys, it was super great to. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I don't think basketball's my expertise. To be completely honest with you.
Well, this might be the StreamYard gods way of saying, hey, are you back, Tyler? Oh no, he's okay. All right.
It's a Max Headroom flashback.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. No, but that was a great job. That was a great job. So we'll have to have Tyler on again, talk hockey.
Yeah, he knows his stuff
and whatever. No, yeah, it's great. So yeah, let's move on. Oh, okay. Well, here let's get him on to at least say goodbye. And then
I'm back. I'm back. Oh, no.
We were just saying, no, you did a great job. We appreciate you coming on and talking hockey with us, and we'll have to have you on again to talk hockey some more.
Absolutely, dude. I am welcome to. Like I said, anybody on this audience, come argue about the Hart Trophy because McKinnon deserves it. Kucherov's a power play merchant.
All right. We'll let them know to go to at Duncan Tyler 029 when now is that on X or
Instagram.
Okay, all right. I heard you say something about Instagram where you were cutting out, so I was like, okay. But yeah, hit up at Duncan Tyler 029 on Instagram if you want to argue with him about the Hart Trophy or any other hockey stuff. But yeah, like I said, it was great to have you on, and I've said this before, but since you're on right now, Dads with Bacon, the Dads with Bacon group, I don't think you're in it unless you just joined. If you want to join up, though, you don't have to be a dad to be in it. So, feel free to join up. And I mean, we have plenty of people that like to talk hockey on there and all that stuff too. So
absolutely. Is that on Facebook?
Yeah, on Facebook. So just
okay, yeah, I'll definitely join it.
Link, but we have a page and a link, but I don't do a lot of stuff with the page. I'm more on the group.
Okay.
If you look up groups, so I always forget if it's groups, if it's Dads with Bacon TV or just Dads with Bacon. Look, you can look either one up, and it's we have about 5,000 members. So we're
okay, perfect. Yeah,
we're growing up.
Dude, that's another thing too. Like, I'm young. I'm 21, but I'm so excited to be a dad. Like all these like little Ovi, like, oh my gosh.
Well,
that's gonna be me.
I'll just say this, and enjoy your time now before you become a dad, because it completely changes. It completely changes. But it's always, if I had advice to give to anyone, I would say start early. I mean, not super early, but like I was 37 when our daughter was born. So it's like, and most of my friends, their kids were already like 10 years old by the time my daughter was born. So it's like, if I had one thing to do over again, I'd rather meet my wife 10 years earlier so we can enjoy some time and then have some kids right away. And so anyway, that's just my little tip. I don't know, Charles, do you have any tips for fatherhood?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat with you, because my first was born at 30 when I was 36.
Okay.
All right. and like I've thought that too. Like, man, if I could have just done this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, well,
dude with the cane at my kid's high school graduation, like, no.
But, well, it's funny too, because our kids are always asking, they're like, how did or our daughter especially, she asks questions all the time. I mean, she's so inquisitive, and she just turned 11, and she was like, were you guys planning? Or did you guys like plan to have me? And I was like, your mother and I got married, and we just decided to have fun and see what happens. And I said, like, literally, I want to say it was 3 months after we were married, and my wife told me, "Hey, I'm pregnant," and it was very exciting. And then our son Dominic will say, and he'll be 10 in June, and he'll say, "What about me, Dad? You plan me?" And I said, "You were born out of a night of Jack Daniels and wine." That was pretty much. I mean, that was. So no, neither were really planned. It wasn't like we sat there and like looked at when her, time of the month was or anything. Like, we didn't do that, just because we thought, would put more pressure on.
And I think it's truly special when it's just a surprise too.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I guess the other thing I will say, and then we'll go to basketball here, but we have a lot of couples that are, friends that are couples who had trouble conceiving, and so it was like we saw the struggle and the stress that it put on them, and we were just like, we don't want to deal with that. So it was like, you know what, if we don't have kids, we don't have kids. We wanted them, but if we didn't, it's like, hey, I guess we're not meant to have kids. It was one of, she's a teacher, she's been teaching, my wife's been teaching for over 20 years, first graders. So it's like they're kind of for kids during the school year. I mean, 9 months out of the year, she's got 16 kids. Now, granted, she can't like discipline them or anything like that, so it's not really her kid. But so that's the way that is. But anyway, thanks again, Tyler, for being on. And you're cutting out again. I think he froze again. So,
Henry fell asleep.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Now I hear you, but your picture's frozen. So I don't. Oh, there it is. Okay.
It's because Dallas scored.
Oh, is that?
Did they really?
Yeah, they're up 1-0.
1-0.
4 minutes left in the first.
We better. We better let you go and you can go watch the game so you can focus.
All right, good. Thanks, fellas. I appreciate it, and I look forward to being on whenever you guys want me on.
Absolutely, bud. Take care. Thanks for being on.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go. Let's talk basketball here a little bit. We got about 20 minutes or so. Let me just ask you that first of all, how much of the playoffs have you said you kind of gotten to watch some of the playoffs? Was there anything in the first first round of either the Western or Eastern Conference that surprised you?
Well, I mean, I guess a little bit. Minnesota, man, like that's kind of surprised me. Yeah, like just how strong they have been. I mean, wow, and they're up 2 games on Denver. Like, What the hell is going on? Denver. I thought Denver was. I felt like Denver. Like I knew Denver was going to slaughter the Lakers. Right?
Yeah.
LeBron's Lakers are a joke. Seriously, they shouldn't have even been in the playoffs. And if people would call his games properly, they probably wouldn't have been in the playoffs. But whatever, that's a story for another day. I mean, but man, Minnesota has really surprised me. The Pacers, I was pleasantly surprised. I know the Bucks dealing with injuries and stuff like that. Oh, it's not, it's not like they came in and like beat the Bucks, but still, they beat the Bucks in the playoffs. So, that was kind of a pleasant surprise. And we get this whole Pacers Knicks, man. Now, like this series makes me feel like I'm back in like middle school, man.
Oh, I know.
As a Pacers fan, Reggie was my guy. That was my favorite basketball player. And all of a sudden I got stuff popping up on my phone about Spike Lee and Reggie Miller, trading like autographs and freaking messing with each other and stuff. I'm like, I love it that they brought that back. And, it seems like it could be a really good series. Yet again, of course, I strongly believe the NBA wants the Knicks to go far in the playoffs because, the Knicks sell tickets and make money. There's no denying that. And no matter how much I might try to argue differently, Indiana is a small market for most professional teams. So it's I don't know. I mean, there have been some like blatantly bad call. You can't push a dude in the back with both hands when he's running and that not be a foul. I mean, I just there's some questionable stuff going on in that. So but other than that, man, I was pleasantly surprised with the Pacers and the Minnesota. That's been shocking to me. The Lakers getting their butts whooped, that was no surprise. And I really wanted a better series with the Heat, but the Heat can't win in the playoffs without Jimmy Butler. He can say it, and I'll say it too. Damn it, because that guy is a playoff monster. I love Jimmy Butler. A lot of people don't like him. I love that dude. He is a great ball player.
He's fun as hell to watch. I mean, when he's there and when he's on, I mean, I wasn't happy last year because he beat my Bucks, but I mean, the Bucks really didn't deserve to win that series at all. I guess I was hoping that they would at least show up a little more. Last year, I'm talking about last year. This year, like you said, it was the injuries just killed them, and they lost 4 out of 5 during the regular season to Indiana, so. Even though those were early in the year, but their only win was a game where Giannis had to score 60 points, or 65 points. I can't remember what it was. I mean, I think it was a franchise record, if I'm not mistaken. And it was for sure his personal best for his career. So, and that's the guy that's gone for the whole series. Plus you're missing Dame for I think was he out 2 games or just 1? I can't remember, but yeah, so that didn't shock me. That was the worst. Just touching on the Bucks real quick, that was the worst possible matchup they could have gotten. I mean, I would have rather. I mean, I'm looking at some of the other series. You got the Knicks and the Sixers, or the Celtics and the Heat. I mean, I would have rather the Bucks gotten the Sixers than the Pacers, whether they were healthy or not. Before Giannis got hurt, I wasn't comfortable playing the Pacers to begin with. So for whatever reason, it was a bad matchup this year in the regular season, and it was obviously a bad matchup in the playoffs. Even though again they're missing Giannis, but looking at the rest of the Eastern Conference, I will say this: I think you're right. They do want to see the Knicks. The NBA does want to see the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, especially against the Celtics. I mean, talk about going back to like the 80s or the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, Celtics Knicks would be great to see. Even though, I mean, I do like Halliburton from the Pacers because he grew up and played right in Oshkosh, which is like about 45 minutes south of where I live. So, we kind of watched him, or the local news covered him throughout his high school career. But yeah, I think, and I haven't watched that series, so I've heard a lot of the complaining about the officiating. I think officiating in the NBA is atrocious for the most part to begin with. And I think part of it too is just there's so much inconsistency. But I will say this, not to jump all over the place here, but since we're talking about officiating, to hear LeBron James bitch about the officiating in that series against the Nuggets, when I believe was it game 2, they had a chance to tie the series up at 2, and they blew like a 19-point lead in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. And he was complaining about the officiating. It's like, dude, you blew a 19-point lead. There has to be more to it than just bad officiating doesn't blow 19-point leads. Bad playing does. And I know this because I watched the Lakers a few weeks ago in Milwaukee come back down 19 points to beat the Bucks in double overtime. And that wasn't bad officiating. It was just shitty defense by the Bucks. So, like, for him to turn around when he and the Lakers, from what I remember during the regular season, had some of the most favorable officiating in the entire league. And for you to bitch about it, dude, shut up. Just that's why people are tired of you. You sit there, you want to be considered this great leader, and all you do is bitch about the refs. And I'm not going to bring up another all-time great, the
all-time great.
I don't remember him bitching about the refs as much as LeBron James does. That's all I'm going to say on that. So, yeah, I guess, and I to give my 2 cents, and I'll say this other thing too. And this is a point that I brought up on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was actually a couple of weeks ago, last week. One of the things the NBA needs to do better is market themselves. And this is the first year, I think, in was it 5 or 10 years that neither that LeBron, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant, if you look at the big 3, if you will, of the kind of the guys that are getting older, and I don't really say phasing out, but they're getting older. This is the first time that none of them have been in made to the second round in 5 or 10 years or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds about right, though. That makes sense.
And I remember thinking to myself last week as the playoffs were getting underway, holy shit, I had no idea Oklahoma City and was a number 1 seed, and that the Timberwolves were number 3. Like, I had no idea. Why? Because we've spent so much time listening to everyone talk about, and this isn't just NBA. It's ESPN. It's everybody talking about the play-in tournament with, just because the Lakers and Golden State are in it. It's like, you know what? Why don't we start talking about some of these? Anthony Edwards, I didn't even know who the hell he was. And granted, I'm not like a diehard NBA fan. I follow the Bucks, and then everything else I'm more casual. But I'm the guy that you want to start pushing some of these some of these young up and coming stars. They talked about the kid from Oklahoma City. They refer to him as SGA. I don't even know what his name is. But
SVG.
no, SGA. He was the runner up for the MVP award this year, and I didn't even know who he was. And they were talking about him yesterday on the radio. They're like, SGA should have won it. I'm like, who the hell is SGA? I don't know who these people are because the league never freaking promotes them. Because they're not in LA, they're not in New York, or they're not in Boston, or or whatever city we want to start focusing on promoting. And that's really frustrating. As a fan, it's just like I want to start seeing some of these young kids. Anthony Edwards, I've seen some of him now in the playoffs since Minnesota has won they're 6-0 in the playoffs, for Christ's sake. And you're not even really talking that much about them. And that's and granted, I'm not one as a Packers fan, I'm not one to sit there and go out of my way to promote Minneapolis. But let me, I don't actually mind the Timberwolves. Like the Timberwolves are one of those teams, and even the Twins. I grew up. I love Kirby Puckett and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
Kirby.
So I don't mind the Twins either, especially now that the Brewers aren't in their division. But at the same time, like the Timberwolves are this young, exciting team with Edwards and you got Karl Anthony Towns, and no one's even talking about them. And I think it's a shame. And I think the NBA, people were bitching this past week about how the WNBA screwed up with some of their opening, like Angel Reese, her first game didn't, they didn't even televise it and all this stuff. And let's not worry about the WNBA. Let's worry about the $1 billion league that is the NBA and how much they're completely effing up their future because they're still focused on a 39-year-old who basically is just hanging on so he can play with his kid. I mean, LeBron James hasn't been relevant. I don't even count that the freaking bubble championship. I don't count it at all. He hasn't been relevant for years. And in terms of like leading a legitimate championship contender. I know you could say, well, they made it last year to the Western Conference Championship. Yeah, and they got bitched. I mean, they got boat raced by Denver last year.
By a team that did the same thing to him this year in the playoffs.
Exactly. So
yeah,
NBA, come on, do better. This is a league that they've done a hell of a job growing internationally. I mean, like you look at how they are in China and all over the world, and like even if you look at their social media compared to like the NFL, I mean the NBA just kicks ass compared to the NFL does very well, don't get me wrong, but the NBA has millions more followers on a social media scale than the NFL does. They've done a great job of that, but you're gonna piss all that away because you're still hoping that, like, I don't know if LeBron gets some kind of second wind where he leads, maybe he goes back to Cleveland and Cleveland drafts Bronny, and then Bronny and LeBron can lead Cleveland to another. I don't know, whatever. It's just now I'm rambling,
but so
yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I don't know. Okay, let me state first that out of all the commissioners of all the major leagues, I think that Adam Silver is the best. I think that he does the best job as a commissioner, right? And I think that one of the things that he has done, which I think is smart, is kind of let the NBA, it's like you said, their social media presence and whatnot is very large and very good. And I think he lets that do a lot of the talking, but I don't necessarily see the NBA as pushing LeBron and Durant and these guys. I think that the media is at the forefront of that, and while they're all on everybody's lips, and social media as well.
Yeah.
Because I see, like when I see advertisements for the NBA, or when I see what they're doing with not the All-Star game, but the things situated around the All-Star game and who they're bringing in for like the 3-point and the skills competition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They, to me, and you had like the D League and things like that. I feel like the NBA has done a lot to try to put the focus on their younger players. They just can't compete with the fans. I mean, LeBron makes himself a spectacle. He makes himself the center of attention. He's like, it's LeBron time. That's I swear. So I don't know if it's I don't know if it's actually the fault of the NBA, and I don't think that that's their focus as far as their advertising and what they're trying to present. I think that's more of just a product of what it is.
Yeah, but at the same, and I agree with you on that for sure. But at the same time, I think, and this is one I would agree with you that Adam Silver is probably the best commissioner of all, like the big four leagues. I'm not sure if that's saying a whole lot. I mean, to be better
really
than
good, though.
to be really better than Manfred, you just pretty much have to have a pulse, and I mean, so. I've heard a lot of. I should have asked Tyler. If Tyler was still on, we could have asked him what he thinks about Gary Bettman. But, I will say, I think in the case of, my question would be if David Stern was still a commissioner instead of Adam Silver, would he be taking? I mean, because they have pull over these networks. I mean, they can go to ESPN and say, hey guys, let's start focusing more on Anthony Edwards and all these guys, these younger guys. Who is it? Tyrese Maxey from 76ers just went off in that series. I mean, he literally, I mean, all these guys. It's like, I think if the commissioner wanted to make more of a deal about it, he could talk to some of these executives at ESPN and TNT and whatnot and say, guys, can we let's start focusing on some of these younger guys too, because LeBron and Steph and Kevin Durant aren't going to be around forever. We need to start focusing on some of these guys too. So, and I mean, it's just like I said, I kind of got something up my butt last week and had to get it off my chest on Facebook about that. But so let's go real quick and just talk, and then we'll wrap up here about the series going on right now. So we've got Cavaliers just tied things up tonight against the Celtics, one game apiece. They just blew them out in Boston. So a lot of Celtics fans leaving early in that one. And then we have the Knicks up 2-0 against the Pacers, and then going over the Western Conference, you've got right now
Mavs Thunder.
Yep, they're playing right now. Dallas leading by 6 with about 2 minutes left in the first half. So that series is 1-0 OKC, and then, like we said, and this is where I mentioned out the schedule. I don't understand sometimes with the NBA. You had the Nuggets and T-Wolves. Minnesota is up 2-0 with Game 3 tomorrow night in Minneapolis, and they played Game 2 on Monday. So that's one of those things where I'm like, sometimes I just don't understand, like, why the hell do you have to have 3 days? Like, people were pumped about that series, and if I'm Minnesota, I don't want a 3-day break. I want to get back on the court as soon as possible. Like, hey, we got these guys down. Let's keep, let's play these games as quickly as possible. But that's just me. So anyway, let's look at those 4 series that we have left. Which ones are you? We can go through them one apiece, I guess. Thunder and Mavericks. I mean, what are your thoughts on this series?
So, I mean, my heart's with the Mavs because I'm a huge Jason Kidd fan.
Yeah,
I really am. And I was a big Dirk fan, so I've got like a soft spot for the Mavs. But the Thunder have looked really, really strong. They've finally put together a true playoff caliber team in OKC. So I think it's going to be a pretty good series. The Thunder just seem to me to probably have just a little bit of an edge. Plus, as good as the Mavericks have been, they seem to have battled a lot of injuries off and on throughout the season. So I'm not sure if the Mavs get through this series with everybody healthy.
Okay, so you're thinking OKC is probably going to pull this out.
Yeah, probably like 6 games, probably 6 games. The Mavs get a couple, but I think OKC just has the upper hand against them.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. I will say this. I hope all these games go a long way, because I'm not really ready. I do enjoy NBA playoff basketball. I'm not, the regular season. It's like, okay, I don't know how much these guys actually even care about the regular season, but
right.
I'd love to see all these games go 7 games, or all these series go 7 games. But I think it'll be the Thunder, probably in 6 or 7. Now, what about the T-Wolves and the Nuggets? Again, this is one that I would love to see the Nuggets come back and tie up or make a close one. I think it's going to be the T-Wolves. The T-Wolves won Game 2 in Denver without even having Rudy Gobert, who is, if I'm not mistaken, the Defensive Player of the Year. He's one of the finalists for it. They haven't announced it yet. So I'm gonna call this one, and I'm gonna say I think the T-Wolves win it in 5. I think Denver wins. I mean, they seem to have Jokic frustrated, in this series, and like more frustrated than I've ever seen him in any playoff series, going back to any of the series last year, or even the first round against LA. He didn't really seem like LA was really bothering him at all, So, and they have the size. I'm gonna say I think Minnesota wins this one in 5. What are your thoughts?
I felt like going into the playoffs that the Nuggets were if not the strongest, maybe the second strongest team in the West. I really did. I thought they were just going to railroad, LA, and they did, rightfully so. They did. But the Timberwolves, man, I mean, they come out, just make quick work of the first round, and they look really, really good, like they've got it put together. Yep. I agree with you on the size thing. I think gives the Timberwolves a little bit of an edge on this, but it's hard for me to pick against the Nuggets. They are a really, really solid team, and I struggle with this one because I trying to ask myself how Minnesota is already up 2-0 on them. That just blows my mind.
Yep.
So, man, I feel like from what I've seen, the Timberwolves are going to end up pulling this one out, but I'm still going to pick the Nuggets. They'll turn around. I just think that they're the better team.
Okay.
The better team should win.
You're right. They should. So let's go to Celtics Cavaliers. I mean, Cavaliers tied it up 1 apiece, as we said earlier tonight, with a big blowout. At first, when I saw this series start, I thought, I don't know a whole lot about Cavaliers, admittedly, and I as a Bucks fan, I watched the Celtics just basically run away with it to the point where I think with 2 months left in the season, they already had the Eastern Conference wrapped up. Maybe not mathematically, but you could just tell that they were going to win it. But there just seems to be something off, almost like they're bored at times in the playoffs. So I'm still picking Celtics. I think I'm going to pick them maybe like in 6, though. I think Cleveland might grab one more in Cleveland. I didn't expect Cleveland to win it all in Boston. So, I mean, maybe they'll push it to 7 games, but I still think Celtics win this one. What about you?
Yeah, I think Cleveland winning tonight just goes back to that old saying. I mean, even a blind dog finds a bone sometimes. And they found theirs tonight.
Yeah.
I think the Celtics run away with it after this.
Okay.
Everyone gets one. That's it.
Okay. So then how about we got the Knicks and Pacers. Again, Knicks are up 2-0. A lot of we touched on it a little bit ago. A lot of talk about the officiating. Do you see the Pacers? I see them, I guess, winning 1 or maybe even 2 games at home. I mean, I certainly don't think they'll get swept. They're a much better team at home. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, they can't get swept because the NBA's got to make it look real. So they can't get swept. And it should be 1-1. I mean, the Pacers really already won one of these games, but you can't play the other team and the officials. Okay, it's a numbers game. It just doesn't work. So I'm truly convinced that the NBA wants the Knicks to be there, so they're going to win this series. But the Pacers, they're going to make a game of this. I think if the Knicks do win, it's in 7. So we'll see. Okay. We'll see what happens. I'm looking for a good fight though, and I definitely think that going back into Indiana that the Pacers will win there.
Okay. All right. For sure. All right, buddy. Well, why don't we wrap it up? We've been going a little over an hour here, and that's about the time we like to keep it to. And I know it's for you, it's almost 11 o'clock out where you are. So it was great having you.
Yeah, man.
Great talking hockey, great talking some basketball. Yeah, sometimes I will admit, leading up to a show, I'm like, God, we don't have football to talk about. What the hell are we going to talk about? We're going to get an hour show, and then we end up getting an hour and 15 minutes, and getting someone like Tyler to come on and give his hockey expertise. So again, he did a great job, and so we're definitely gonna have to start next week. We have the NFL schedule coming out on
and it'll be out on
Wednesday, so we could talk about that next week, along with just some updates with the NHL and NBA playoffs, and maybe even get some baseball talk going. So any big plans for you for the weekend?
Well, no, my wife is unfortunately will be working on Mother's Day. She'll be at the hospital working. Yeah, so I'm hang out with the kids and stuff, watch some racing. And quickly, I do want to mention, I don't know if you know, but this past race at Kansas, which is this past weekend, which sometimes can be a very dull track, or at times has been, I think has shown everybody what these new gen cars can do, and everybody should be very excited. If you're not a believer in how they can race, go back and watch this race and watch NASCAR's closest finish ever at 0.001. It was insane. The entire race was insane. I have been at times on the fence about the next gen cars, and I now love them, because if you can take boring tracks and make them that exciting, I'm all for it. So I'll catch the race, Darlington throwback. I'll watch some hockey, watch some basketball. Yeah.
Well, that I totally forgot about. Yeah, I totally forgot about that finish. I mean, you had probably and then of course we didn't. I don't know how many people we have in the group that are fans of horse racing. So I probably
touched on that. That was a great finish too.
That was a fantastic
Derby,
finish.
Woo!
Yep, and I totally forgot about the finish. I didn't see the finish. My wife did though, and she was like, "You got to see this finish." And then she never was able to find, because she thought we had recorded the race and we didn't, and so it was a whole big thing. But we'll have to definitely start talking more about NASCAR and all that good stuff. But it was fantastic finish for both of those races. So
the Derby was exciting. That was an exciting race. My horse got boxed in, but still got third. So
there you
go.
Awesome.
Oh, I had the boys in here on the couch. I told them all. I was like, okay, look, this is the horse Daddy's going for. You guys can each pick a horse. If your horse beats Daddy's horse, I'll give you $1. They ain't win. They didn't win.
They didn't win.
It's all right. It's all right. I still got $2. So
cool. Bring it back. Yes, we'll bring Duncan back. We'll bring Tyler back for the next show. Apparently, Tyler already has fans. We just was on one show. Nice. So, all right. Well, have a great weekend. Tell your wife Happy Mother's Day, even though she's got to work, and we'll see everybody next week.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care, bud.